All right, we are live back on a new week here of the 12 Days of Cyber Christmas with Plurilock. Today featuring Dominic Vogel. You're just going to have to take our word for it because his camera is having some technical issues. Something we've seen many a time in 2021. Dominic, how are you? Thank you for joining the show.
I'm doing really well, Stephen. Thank you for having me on. And sorry you couldn't see my beard in all its splendor today, but you'll just have to use your imagination.
Yeah, we were looking forward to seeing your beautiful face. And I hear you're wearing a full Santa outfit. We just can't confirm or deny that based on
Well, you got the
the
Santa
camera.
hat. I have to take it a step further for sure.
Fair enough. Yeah, I got mine as people have seen. Got my stocking behind me. But Dominic, yeah, how have you been this year? How's business been for cyber? You just maybe just give a quick intro to yourself for those who might not know. Although they probably do if they're in Canada. Give us an intro, what you do, and what your business is.
Absolutely, Stephen. So, I mean, for your listeners of yours who aren't familiar with me, I'm Dominic Vogel. I'm the founder and chief strategist at CyberSC. We started business 7 years ago. We're focused on providing leadership and guidance to small business, mid-sized business owners and executives when it comes to cyber risk management. So it's something that we love doing, and it's been to answer your question, it's been a very busy year. Each passing year, I'd say over the past 4 or 5 years, we've seen more and more small and mid-sized business owners and executives wake up to the fact that there's a leadership gap when it comes to cyber risk management in the SMB space. So organizations like ours are being engaged more and more often. So it's been a very good year that way. So Santa's been good to us from that perspective. And I think, like I said, we've even looking into 2022, I think it's just further awakening in the space that cyber risk and cybersecurity isn't going away. Businesses do need to pay attention to it.
Right, and I've talked to a few other people in similar positions as you in these last few days of the Cyber Christmas, and we've been talking about how there's more opportunity, obviously, for cybersecurity, services like ours to do work. Unfortunately, because there's more attacks and stuff like that. But I think that's all the opportunity for business is more because of companies are really waking up to the fact that it's a really good business strategy to have proactive policies and management and tools in place to defend against the onslaught of attacks.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Stephen. Especially with during the pandemic, we've seen organizations that maybe hadn't really embraced digital transformation before, right? And or remote workforce, and all of a sudden had to out of necessity. So the pandemic has certainly thrust a lot of SMBs into the space, or into a more digitized space, I should say, and embracing digital transformation. So with more and more of that, with our economy becoming increasingly more digitized, it only stands to reason, like you're saying there, that the cyber risk becomes more front and center for every organization, big and small.
Right. And talking about cyber risk, do you want to give us a quick kind of like live update on the Log4j, I guess, attack that's going on right now? I honestly don't know anything about it, but you're the expert. So maybe just what's your thoughts on kind of what's happening right now and what can people do?
For sure, Stephen. And really, this is definitely going to go down as one of the more notable exploits and vulnerabilities in the modern era here. It's certainly been referred to as probably one of the most damaging exploits or vulnerabilities over at least the past 10 years.
Wow.
The best non-technical explanation that I've seen of it, and it's actually a really great visual. It's so that picture giving your house keys to a complete stranger and pointing out where your house is, your alarm code, and where your valuables are. That's pretty much the technical equivalent of, or non-technical equivalent, I should say, of this vulnerability. It's tied into, in particular, Java. And Java is just ubiquitous. It's everywhere. It's in so much code. Even like smart microwaves or smart fridges could be vulnerable to this particular vulnerability. And really, what it's still fairly early days. Really, what we're advising people right now, especially non-technical people, is engage your IT team, engage your IT security team. Identify what what applications within your environment are currently affected. Do you even have Log4j in your organization? Chances are you do, because even in things like WebEx is an example that has Log4j built into it. So really, what we're advising people is to, like better, to do a asset check. Where does this exist in your environment? Where you can update, where you can remove that application if you don't need it, remove it. There's additional remediation steps as well. A lot of those are a little more too technical to maybe repeat verbatim right now, but really it's about understanding what that risk exposure is, especially as a business owner and executive. Make this a priority, right? Give your security team, give your IT team, give your outsourced service provider, give them the time that they need. This is going to be a very stressful time for them. Give them the space and resources that they need to address this, and definitely keep an eye out from other applications and even SaaS, so software as a service cloud applications. Check in on your vendors. Are they vulnerable? Right? What are they doing about it? So this is internet breaking stuff.
Yeah, it sounds very not good. Maybe your webcam is a victim of it as well. I'm thinking,
who knows? Wouldn't surprise me.
Who knows? Yeah, is this another one of what they call a supply chain attack? Would this fall into that category?
To a degree, Stephen. And especially given the how prevalent Java is, because a lot of people will say, "Oh, well, we don't run Java in our organization. We don't have to worry about it." But even just small JavaScript, it can be in all sorts of different applications. Like I said, even something like WebEx, Cisco WebEx, that is vulnerable, right? We're waiting on updates from WebEx as an example right now to address that vulnerability, right? So it's not necessarily, it certainly is a supply chain issue to a degree, given, like I said, how prevalent Java is in all sorts of different applications.
Right. Yeah. It's just amazing how interconnected things are and stuff like that can do damage. So yeah, we're thinking of everyone who's responding to it right now. I know our CEO, Ian L. Patterson, put out a post saying, if you're a team that's on kind of working overnight right now, we can help you out and send you a Uber Eats code or a gift card like that to just to help and kind of stand in solidarity, because it's obviously a crappy time for that.
Absolutely. The IT teams, the security teams, they're the unsung heroes right now that are having to deal with this fallout and tremendous stress on them right now. And I love hearing people like Ian, stepping up to recognize that in many organizations these are people that get looked over and they're not given the right due that they're given. So kudos to Ian and your team there for doing that.
Yeah, that's great. Looking ahead now into 2022, I guess, like, do you see any things changing as far as the amount of businesses that are bought into being super, proactive with cybersecurity practices? Do you see the amount of threats increasing still? Because 2021 was a lot of metrics point to it being like the worst year on record for cybersecurity criminal activity. Do you see anything getting better, or do you see it still kind of getting the response lagging behind the threat still at this point in time?
Yeah, I'd say that we're going to see just 2022, just more organizations becoming aware, either proactively or reactively, being hit by ransomware and recognizing that maybe they should be investing in cybersecurity. I definitely see 2022 being an extension of the past few years, where we've just seen more and more organizations waking up to that. So I'd say more of the same. We're likely going to keep hearing more and more, ransomware stories and stories like vulnerabilities like Log4j. I think that's to be expected too, as more organizations become aware and become focused on this. It only stands to reason that there'll be more stories around that. If we were to ignore it, we could say, well, there's nothing to worry about. It's sort of like Donald Trump's response to coronavirus, right? If we don't test it, we don't really have it, kind of thing, right? So that type of mindset doesn't really work for cybersecurity, right? So I definitely seeing 2022 being, like I said, very similar to 2021, but it's just gonna be more organizations, especially like I said at the SMB level, becoming cognizant and aware that they need to do more.
Right. That makes sense. I think based on what we've seen, if you had, as a practitioner, as somebody who obviously cares for this topic a great deal, if you had a cyber Christmas wish for something that companies would kind of buy into more, do more of, what would that be? And I'm going to ask anyone who's watching as well, what's your cyber Christmas wish?
And I like that term, Stephen. That my cyber Christmas wish, if Santa could make it happen, really it would be for business owners and executives to recognize that cybersecurity is not just an IT thing. It's not something that you just hand off to IT and say, oh, let's call the techies and let them deal with it. If I could have that one wish, it would be that they would see it as a business risk, right? They would see it like they see operational risk, financial risk, personnel risk. Yeah. If they see it as a risk, they'll take more of an active role in it, and they'll have a greater sense of ownership and recognizing that they do need to have oversight and guidance in terms of how cyber risk is managed at their organization. So that's my one wish. I won't hold my breath, but that's my one wish.
Well, yeah. It's funny because a lot of people say that same type of thing. Like they want to see businesses take it as like one of their existential risk factors to operations. And being in the industry, we're obviously constantly talking about the threats and the best practices around it. But do you still come into contact with companies that don't have that on their radar as kind of as a major threat, like the cybersecurity risk?
Oh, absolutely, especially at the SMB level, Stephen. It's still very much something that they react to. If it's still out of sight, out of mind. If they're not being hit by ransomware, then they don't. To them, it's like, oh well, we're not a target. It's going to come after us, right? They're still very dated mindsets. I still hear especially if we're prospecting, I hear a lot of organizations saying, our IT guys deal with that, or we're just a small company, no one's going to come after us. Right? These are things that may have been true in the mid-90s, but they're sure as heck not true now. But these stereotypes and these myths still perpetuate, especially at the SMB level, especially in non-regulated spaces. So it's going to still take time for that mindset to change.
Right. Well, hopefully it changes a lot more in 2022. If people are thinking about it, if random company X is watching this video and they're thinking about changing their posture and they want to reach out to CyberSC or connect with you, Dominic, for your services, what's the kind of best way for them to do that or reach out?
Absolutely. No. So if they want to reach out by the company, cyber.sc, everything is laid out there. People can reach out there. I'm someone who spends a lot of time on LinkedIn, as you know, Stephen. So people can reach out to me, Dominic Vogel. I'm the only one on LinkedIn, or at least the only English-speaking one on LinkedIn. Please feel for any of your listeners or viewers, they can reach out to me. I'm always happy, like I said, more than anything, just to be a friend and just to help people. So if they want to reach out, I always love it when people reach out to connect.
Great. Well, thanks for coming on the show, Dominic, joining in the festive spirit here, and sharing your wisdom on, Log4j, which is, that's scary. And thanks for providing some wisdom on that and talking about some things that people can do going into 2022.
Stephen, thank you again. Have a awesome Christmas. Happy New Year. I hope you get from Santa what you want. I'm still hoping I get some goodies because I think I've been a good boy this year. But thank you again for
allowing me to be on the show. My stocking's still empty, as you can see. So hoping that gets filled up.
Thanks again, Stephen. Be well.
For sure. You as well. Take care.